This office worker finds himself in a medieval setting. He realizes he has magic and tries to survive in his new life. Will he survive? Episode 1. Lord Wendelin, called Well, is working in a field. He uses magic to clear the field and he returns home. Some ladies welcome him, and one of them, Elise, asks if he will take coffee. They notice that he's tired, and he says it's just like the office job that he was doing before. He realizes he has mistakenly mentioned his former job, then he apologizes and goes to his room. He remembers when he was working at an office. He returns home hungry and prepares a meal as he cooks, but sleeps off. He wakes and finds himself at a party. He realizes he has been transferred to another world, and in that world, his name is Well, and his brother Kurt, their firstborn, is getting married. Looking at how the family is, he assumes they are rich until reality dawns on him the next day. The next day, he sees they are eating like poor people, and his brother tells him that they are from a poor noble family and he is the 8th son without any inheritance. He goes to his father's room and sees a magic ladder that prescribes everyone to test their magical skills by screaming at a ball. He does it and finds out he has magical skills. He goes to fetch firewood for his father and a boar attacks him. Alfred, who has seen that he has magical powers, forces him to use his magic on the boar and he kills it. Alfred introduced himself as the former court magician of the Dukedom of Beichroder. Episode 2. After their meal of plain water for breakfast, he returns to Alfred, who he calls Master. Alfred says he will teach him magic on the condition that he must not tell anyone about it. Alfred tells him that if people know about his power, they will want him to become the feudal lord, and it will cause a family fight since he is the 8th son. Alfred also tells him magic brewers can get whatever they want. He returns home and they eat. He goes back to Alfred for his first training. They start with practice matching. While training, he holds Alfred's hands and sees his hands are cold. Alfred realizes Well's mana is strong, and at home, his father finds out that someone changed the position of the crystal ball. He tells Kurt, and they wonder if Well is practicing magic, and they laugh at him. Well continues his practice, and Alfred gives him vegetables to take home. At home, they realize the vegetable is a special one that can only be found beyond the sea, and only magic can be used to get there. Kurt asks if he used magic, and he laughs that it's impossible. He decides to be an adventurer, but his parents tell him that they don't have the money. He returns to keep practicing, and Alfred tells him that he can work and make money with magic. At home, his father tells him about the whispering of the dead. It means an undead person, and the person is in the forest, so he should be careful. He tries to drag Alfred from the forest, but Alfred tells him he is the undead. He says he came to the forest 5 years ago to find an antidote for the prince's sickness, but he died. However, he has a wish, and he can't pass to heaven if his wish doesn't get fulfilled. He wishes to have a student, and he is glad he found Well. He asks Well to send him off, and Well reluctantly does so. Episode 3. 7 years later, he resumes at the Adventurer Academy. For the past 7 years, he has isolated himself to avoid family issues, so he is now a loner. In his class, there are 3 students, Luis, Lena, and Erwin. They want him to be friends with them, but they assume his personality is due to the pride that he can't be with people with lower skills than himself. The teacher tells them that they have to get a bounty and they need to go in groups. Well goes alone and brings several bounties. The friends give up. They go for their first adventure together and they are overwhelmed. Well comes to help them. Later, they get to know the Duke of Beichroder, who has invited them for dinner. During the dinner, the Duke calls for Well. He tells him that he has to come with his friends, and they follow him. He meets Alfred's master, Brantag, who says he knows he is Alfred's student. They tell him the portions of the soldiers are in the magic bag Alfred gave him. He gives them, and they give him the reward of 1,000 gold and 1 billion yen, and he is also to inherit Alfred's house. He also chooses Luis, Lena, and Erwin as his friends and adventurer companions. Episode 4. His brother is getting married, and he invites his friends. Brantag takes them to visit his capital. On their magic airship, an undead dragon attacks him. Brantag says Well is the only one who can destroy it. He goes to do it in honor of Alfred, defeats it, and takes the dragon bones. Upon returning to the airship, he meets Arterio, Brantag's friend. As they arrive at the capital, the governor asks to meet Well. As a reward for killing the dragon, he is honored with the noble position of the 6th rank of baronet, and he earns 2 dragon medals, a medal no one has earned in 2 centuries. He becomes rich and goes to his brother's wedding. He sponsors a dowry as well. He also prepares miso for his friends, hoping that he won't become corrupted by his new position. Episode 5. He is invited to the church by Hohenheim, who asks him to marry his granddaughter Elise, who has healing magic, and he accepts. He is concerned about his union and tells his friends and brother, who tells him that that's how it works in the noble family. He later meets Elise to ask if she is comfortable with the union, and she says yes. He employs Erwin as his retainer, which makes Louise and Lena jealous. They try to seduce him to be his concubines. Episode 6. The king asks to meet Well, and he gives him the mission to go to Palcania Prairie with Brantag to defeat a monster. He reluctantly takes the task and goes with Armstrong, the palace magician. While he goes to kill the dragon, Erwin helps to pick a team for the mission. Elise also joins the task as a saint. In the forest, Well defeats the dragon, and he learns that the next monster they are fighting is the one who killed his boss. They win the battle. Armstrong tells Well that Elise is his niece, and Elise also asks if Louise and Lena will be Well's concubines, and they accept. Episode 7. Well finds out that he has to apply for the martial arts tournament, and they can't use magic during the game. He and his friends start training. Well tells the others that he wants Elise to join their adventurer team, and they accept her. Despite all of their training, they all lose in their competition. Erwin loses to Warren, who is now his mentor, teaching him how to use the sword better. Lena tells Well that they have the same mentor, and their mentor is Armstrong. Episode 8. 3 years later, Kurt receives a letter that Well is dead, and he should bring his kids to inherit Well's properties. He is very happy. 5 days prior, Well and his friends register as adventurers. As they celebrate, Brantag tells him that they have a mission from the king. They are to visit a ruin. Brantag tells them that several adventurers have been to that ruin and none have returned. They enter and see it's empty. Suddenly, they start disappearing one by one and find themselves at a part that they aren't familiar with. They can't use teleportation, so they use the stairs to find the surface. They meet several hindrances on the way. Meanwhile, Ruckner starts spreading rumors about Well's death, and he sends the letter to Kurt so Kurt's kids can inherit Well's position. The party gets overpowered in the ruins. Elise activates a special light by kissing Well, and they destroy the dragon. They find out the ruins were created by a mage, Count Eichelberg, who has kept several things there, and he doesn't want them to fall into undeserving hands. They use the aircraft that they find to return to the surface. Episode 9. They take all the valuable things from the ruins, and the king rewards them. He decides to leave the capital, and Armstrong promises to find out who started the rumor about his death. He realizes he has been targeted, so he employs a boy, Roderick, as his guard. Roderick finds out that Ruckner, his father, started a rumor. He reports to Well and starts a rumor that Ruckner wants to kill Well. He also meets a foodie girl, Wilma, and her father asks him to take her as a guard. As Kurt's wife reads the letter, Kurt smiles, and Well departs with his party members for a mission. Episode 10. Their mission is to clear the Encounter Forest and purify the soul, but Kurt refuses to allow them. However, they eventually do their task. Well wonders why his brother has changed. He finds out that it's because Kurt doesn't want him to take the throne. He stays in the village for a while, and Kurt's wife also brings her kids to meet him. The village chief asks him to be the head, but he refuses. Brantag then informs him that that's part of a mission from the king too. Episode 11. Brantag tells him that there are some untapped areas in the village that the king wants to develop, and he needs Well's resources. He doesn't want to become the lord, but it seems like he has no choice. He asks Brantag what will happen to his brother and finds out that he might be killed. He tries to negotiate the land with Kurt, but Kurt calls him a thief. He makes plans to take care of Kurt's family, but Kurt gets a dragon flute from Ruckner to kill Well. Episode 12. Kurt uses the flute despite knowing that everyone in the city will die. It turns out that it is the flute of malice that will turn the user into an undead. He dies, but they were able to purify him. A part of him goes to kill Ruckner. As a result of Kurt's acts, his kids are stripped of their nobility. Well negotiates that the king give him the power to bestow noble positions. He gives the position to Amelia, then starts the development of the lands. Thanks for watching our video. If you want us to recap the next season, let us know in the comment section.